Have you ever opened the door to your home after a bone-crushing day at work, kicked off your exhausted shoes, and in that exact moment looked up at your own living space? Did you feel your chest tighten as if squeezed by invisible hands? Were you suffocated by an intangible yet glaringly obvious heaviness, radiating from the jacket carelessly tossed on the sofa 3 days ago, or from the sink overflowing with greasy plates left over from yesterday's dinner, and the tangled rat's nest of charging cables on your desk? Suddenly, whatever meager drops of energy you had desperately tried to preserve after an 8-hour battle with the outside world simply evaporated. You stood frozen at the doorway, drowning in an absolute, bottomless exhaustion. Many of us have lived through that exact moment. It's the moment we let out a long, heavy sigh and tell ourselves the lie that I was just born messy or I am way too busy to clean. Instead, we turn a blind eye, shove the pile of laundry on the bed to one side just to carve out enough space to lie down, and accept the chaos as an inevitable part of our existence. But let us be entirely honest with ourselves. Have you ever walked into someone else's home, a friend's or a coworker's, and noticed that their space is always immaculately, perfectly arranged? Not because they are hosting a dinner party, and not because they sacrificed their entire weekend to deep clean. Simply because their house is always like that. You secretly wonder if they possess some sort of superpower, if they magically have more free time than the rest of us, if they are made of pure iron discipline, or if they are simply obsessed with scrubbing. The truth, however, is far more profound and life-altering than you might imagine. The people who maintain a consistently spotless home do not possess a different biological makeup, nor do they enjoy scrubbing toilets or vacuuming any more than you do. The difference lies entirely in how their nervous system and psychology are wired to operate. Today, in this very moment, I am going to completely dismantle that hidden mechanism for you. I want to prove that a clean home is never merely about physical hygiene. It is, in fact, the most accurate mirror reflecting the state of your mind, the structure of your core identity, and the deeply intimate relationship you hold with your own self. Let us begin with a brutally honest psychological truth that your brain has been hiding from you all this time. Your brain does not clearly distinguish between your inner world and your outer world, the way you mistakenly believe it does. Every single centimeter of the space you inhabit is relentlessly firing high-frequency signals straight into your central nervous system. This creates a phenomenon known in psychology as cognitive load, the sheer volume of mental energy your brain is forced to expend at any given moment. You might think that the pile of unfolded laundry sitting in the corner is just a harmless mound of inanimate objects, resting quietly, but you would be wrong. A classic study from Princeton University revealed that physical clutter actually acts as a relentless visual stimulus, constantly fighting for your attention. This happens even when you are not consciously looking at it. Every single sock dropped on the floor, every unopened envelope, every half-empty mug left on a table is registered by your visual cortex as unfinished business. In the psychological realm, unfinished business carries an exorbitant price tag. It quietly drains your focus, overloads your brain's processing capacity, and turns your messy room into an invisible monster that sucks away your sharpness and vitality, second by second. Have you noticed how your focus shatters when you try to work in a chaotic room? Now flip that scenario around. When your environment is clean, orderly, and everything rests in its rightful place, your brain is suddenly granted a magnificent privilege, absolute relaxation. That is precisely why people who tidy up every single day are not just neater. They actually think with razor-sharp clarity, they are calmer, and they are infinitely more focused. All because they have engineered their living space to act as their greatest ally rather than an obstacle. But the story goes much deeper into the shadows of the human psyche. When we talk about the daily habit of cleaning, we are actually talking about one of the most sophisticated psychological survival mechanisms known to humanity. The desperate need for control. Close your eyes for a second and think about your life. There are countless things completely outside of your grasp. You cannot control the fluctuating economy, the sudden downpour that ruins your favorite shirt, the morning barista's terrible attitude, or what your boss is going to say in this afternoon's meeting. The world out there is inherently a chaotic, unpredictable mess. For the vast majority of us, that uncertainty breeds a quiet, chronic anxiety, a low-level hum of background stress that never truly fades away. But your home is entirely different. Whether the kitchen counter is polished to a shine, whether the bed is meticulously made, or whether the clothes are perfectly hung, those tiny details are 100% under your sovereign command. Every single time you roll up your sleeves, wipe away a stain, or straighten a book, you are firing a massive neurological wave straight to your brain, declaring, I am the one in charge here. I can handle things. Everything is going to be okay. Have you ever felt a strange, sweeping sense of relief flood your chest after scrubbing the bathroom? That is not magic. That is what psychologists call a strong internal locus of control. People who possess this, those who genuinely believe their personal actions dictate their outcomes, are the least anxious, the most highly motivated, and the most fiercely resilient in the face of life's storms. Cleaning, as it turns out, is the cheapest and most effective daily workout for your mental fortitude. But wait, I know someone listening right now is going to argue, I get it, but cleaning every day is exhausting. Who has the time and patience to keep that up forever? That is exactly where we strike the deepest, most foundational core of this entire phenomenon, identity. People who clean their homes daily do not do it because they love the smell of bleach, or crave the sweat of sweeping. They do it because, through actions repeated over and over again, they internalized a brand new identity. They literally view themselves as the type of person who lives in a clean space. Behavioral psychology has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that human beings will always act in alignment with who they believe they are. If deep down inside you continually label yourself as a slob, or naturally disorganized, then you will look at that towering pile of dirty dishes, sigh, and tell yourself I'll deal with it tomorrow. That's just how I've always been. And the toxic cycle rolls on. The phenomenal news is that your identity is not a life sentence carved into stone. It is built through evidence, and evidence comes exclusively from action. Every single time you throw away the trash right after eating, every single time you smooth out your blanket in the morning, you are casting a powerful vote for the new person you want to become. If you do that long enough, your brain will have no choice but to update its internal image of you. You will transform from someone who has to force themselves to clean, into someone who cleans simply because that is who I am. Look at what happens in the morning. The moment you wake up, your brain is in its most relaxed and receptive state. Your natural cortisol levels peak, creating a golden window for focus and neuroplasticity. This makes the morning the exact time when your brain is most easily rewired. US Navy Admiral William McRaven once shook the world with his legendary speech, "If you want to change the world, start off by making your bed." That tiny action, which takes less than 60 seconds, is the spark that ignites a completion loop. It delivers a highly satisfying hit of dopamine that whispers you have already conquered the first task of the day. This generates a massive gravitational pull of momentum that carries you from one task to the next. By the end of the day, the snowball effect of that one tidy bed has transformed you into an incredibly productive and proud individual. Yet, I need to level with you about a harsher truth that might sting a little. Your clutter is never harmless, and it is definitely not silent. It is screaming at you, serving as a glaring red alarm about something rotting away on the inside. When a person's life begins to derail, when they become overwhelmed, burnt out, or slip into depression, their physical space is always the very first sacrificial lamb. The apartment begins to smell, plates grow mold, half-finished projects are strewn everywhere, and the external chaos becomes the perfect mirror for the shattered pieces inside. A study published in the Personality and Social Psychology Bulletin revealed that individuals who described their homes as cluttered had sky-high levels of the people's stress hormone cortisol surging through their veins all day long, compared to those who viewed their homes as restful. Just think about that. The very environment you call your safe haven might actually be the faceless thief, quietly stealing your peace. It leaves you utterly drained, even on days when you did no heavy lifting whatsoever. Please stop beating yourself up for being undisciplined. The people who maintain immaculate homes do not rely on discipline at all. They rely on systems and automation. They understand that willpower is a highly finite resource, exactly like your smartphone's
If you
battery.
drain
It constantly by forcing yourself to do things, you will crash. Instead, they patiently push through the average 66-day mark to transform tidying from an exhausting conscious decision into an unconscious, automatic instinct, just like brushing their teeth before bed. Once that threshold is crossed, the habit simply feeds itself. Furthermore, there is a profound secret regarding the sensory experience that is rarely discussed. A clean room is not just good for the intellect, it is an intensely physical, nervous system soothing therapy. Have you ever stepped into a minimalist space or a high-end spa and instinctively let out a long exhale as if a 1,000-pound weight was lifted off your shoulders? For highly sensitive people, keeping a clean home is not a matter of aesthetic preference. It is the ultimate frontline defense for their mental health. It is a biological safety signal whispering to the body, everything is under control. There are no threats here. You are finally allowed to rest. The physical act of cleaning is even recognized in clinical psychology as one of the most effective tools of behavioral activation. Think back. Have you ever been furious at your partner or frustrated by an injustice at work, and suddenly found yourself aggressively sweeping the floor, or maniacally reorganizing your closet? That was your nervous system instinctively using rhythmic, physical movements with a clear beginning, middle, and end to discharge trapped negative energy. It borrows the act of ordering the external space to silently stitch back together the torn fabric of your internal peace. So how do you, someone currently drowning in chaos, actually start without being crushed by defeat at the starting line? The golden key here is to shrink the start. Never let the dishes stack up into a mountain before you tackle them. Instead, wipe the counter the second you finish cooking, and wash the mug the moment you drain your coffee. Transform yourself into a maintainer rather than a cleaner. Next, utilize the habit stacking strategy by attaching this new tiny action to a deeply rooted existing habit. You already boil water for coffee every morning, right? So use those exact 2 minutes while the water heats up to wipe down the sink. Finally, engineer the process to be highly enjoyable. Put on your favorite jazz playlist, pour yourself a glass of wine or brew a fragrant cup of tea, and turn the act of tidying into a romantic date with yourself. Rather than treating it like a prison sentence of hard labor, I want to leave you with this final thought. Your home is not just a place to sleep. It is a physical, three-dimensional manifesto of the standards you hold for your own life. It is the rawest proof of how you believe you deserve to be treated. When you pick up a dirty shirt or spray the glass cleaner, you are not merely scrubbing away dust. You are speaking directly to the universe and to your own subconscious, declaring, I respect myself. I deserve to live in a beautiful space. I am worthy of this peace. Close your eyes and vividly imagine this. Tomorrow evening, after turning down the loud happy hours and dragging your exhausted body through the smog and traffic, you turn the key in the lock and push the door open. You are immediately embraced by a silent, perfectly ordered room, smelling faintly of essential oils, with a freshly made, soft bed waiting just for you. Wouldn't that feeling make you want to weep with relief? The people who tidy their homes every day are not rigid, nor do they suffer from obsessive-compulsive disorder. They have simply made a ruthless but entirely correct decision. They refuse to compromise with chaos. They choose to fiercely protect their own energy. Therefore, I am issuing you a small but revolutionary challenge for the next 7 days. Do not attempt to clean your entire house. Just pick one single area. It could be your work desk, a small corner of your kitchen, or just your bed. Keep it absolutely flawlessly perfect for exactly 7 consecutive days. Then, I want you to look me in the eye and tell me if it didn't change the very way you breathe when you wake up. Tell me if it didn't ignite a tiny, glowing spark of fierce pride in your chest when you realized that you have, at long last, become the kind of person who keeps their promises to themselves. Because at the very end of the day, this journey was never really about wiping a table or folding a blanket. It was always about molding your own soul. It was about evolving into someone who knows how to reach out and fiercely care for themselves amidst the brutal storms of life. So, Looking around the room you are sitting in right at this very second, do you see the easy surrender to chaos? Or are you looking at a person who genuinely deserves the absolute best?